Before starting with the transformation, let's start with a basic sketch. Suppose you have a sketch fx equals to 5 minus x. Now if we want to plot this, these are all the values of x, and once we put the value of x, we get the corresponding value of y. That means if you put minus 3 here, 5 minus minus 3 is 5 plus 3, which is 8, and on you put all of the values. For sketching, once you consider x value and y value together as a dot, you get something like this. That means for minus 3 you put a dot 8, minus 2 7, minus 1 6, and on, and once you join that, you'll find some sort of a picture. So this is a plotting. Of course, we don't have to do any graph plotting. All we have to do is sketch. In a transformation, an original sketch is given. Let's get back. Once you have this, now suppose you have to do the transformation of y equals to absolute value of fx. Absolute value means you just get rid of the negative sign. Whatever you have, the value would be without any sign at all, meaning get rid of the negative sign. That's it. So if I have minus 3 in at the position of x, for absolute value of fx, this value would have the absolute value. That means 8 would be 8. For minus 2, if y is 7, absolute value of 7, meaning fx, is 7, because if you remove the negative sign from 7, since 7 has no negative sign, it will be exactly the same. So for positive numbers, when you do absolute value, they are unchanged. But look here, when x equals to 6, we have minus 1. So the absolute value of minus 1 is 1. Absolute value of minus 2 is 2. So you see, only the region that is negative, only those regions are affected when you have an absolute value. So here, if this is the original sketch, so for absolute value of fx, what would happen? Every value of y that is negative, it would be positive. So they would look like graphically as if they're reflected. Remember this, whenever we draw absolute value of fx transformation, because only the negative values are affected, they would become positive and everything else will remain the same. All the values of y that are positive, once you do absolute value, nothing will be changed, because absolute value of a positive number is also the same positive number. Only the negative numbers are affected. For that reason this would be same because it is positive, and only the ones that are negative, they would be reflected. So once you have this, it looks anything below the x-axis is reflected. So remember, whenever you have a transformation for absolute value of fx, there is a reflection on the x-axis. That's what it means graphically. Now the next one, if you think about another transformation, this time not absolute value of fx, but only f absolute value of x. That means here the absolute value is not on the entire function but only on x. In this type of a transformation, you have to remember this x is not being used. It is the absolute value of x that is used. So absolute value of minus 3 is 3, absolute value of minus 2 is 2, absolute value of minus 1 is 1, absolute value of 0 is 0, but the positive numbers are unchanged. So the absolute value of x, only the negative number values of x are affected. So this table, it's more or less, if you notice, 3 2 1 1 2 3, these things are more or less the same. Since we don't have the negative values of these cannot be shown here. But anyway, if you notice, once we had minus 3 here, the value was 8, but the absolute value of x completely removed the negative sign from this, so it became 3. So the value of y for 3 is this one, 2, so we put here 2. previously it was minus 2, and the value of y for minus 2 is 7, because 5 minus minus 2 is 7. But if you do absolute value of x, that means minus 2 becomes 2. So the value of here, instead of 7, we put the value of 2, which is 3. So that way, the values of x that are affected, we are just putting the same values of y for the positive values of x. So in that case, what is happening if you take the original picture? The original picture looks like this. And if you want to do the transformation, you will notice that every positive value of x from 0 to 10, they are unchanged. So 0, 5, 0, 5, 1, 4, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, every positive values, they are unchanged, they are literally the same. So only ones are affected is the negative values of x, because absolute value of x makes them positive. So what we have a copying of these here. So eventually the transformation looks like this. Notice here, every positive value of x has the same as the original y equals to fx. It is only the negative values of x, which is because of the modulus of x are becoming positive. So minus 3 is eventually giving a value of 2. So you can notice that this is a reflection on the y-axis because of this region. You can notice that these are the same, minus 3, 2, and this is 3, 2. So this is sort of a reflection on the y-axis. Then you have 2, 3, minus 2 is also 3. 1 gives a value of 4, but minus 1, since it becomes 1 because of the absolute value of x, is also giving the value of 4. It's sort of a reflection. You can notice that it's sort of a reflection on the y-axis this time. So you have to remember, when we do this, it's a reflection. This is a reflection on the y-axis. But you have to notice that we remove from the original picture the portion that was on the negative side of x. We remove that and we just reflect this side on the other side. That's what we do. Remember, first whatever was on the negative x-axis, we remove that, and then we reflect the positive x-axis portion of fx and reflect on the y-axis. So this is the transformation that is going on. Let's do an example. We have y equals to fx given. We have to do first transformation, y equals to absolute value of fx. So absolute value of fx means you take below the x-axis, since the negative y is going to become the positive y, so you take anything below the x-axis and reflect it above the x-axis. Now one thing you have to remember, while reflecting, it has to be as if it has been reflected. You cannot just draw and change the shape. The shape is very, very important, and especially here it has to be pointed, because you're breaking this and you're just putting it upwards. So this sketch is going to be always label x-axis, y-axis and the origin. So this is going to be the same. So this is like this. So this is the, let me redraw this. So this is here. So up to here is the same. This is minus 3, 2. Now what happens, this portion is going to be reflected upwards. So it's going to be like this, like this. So this portion is going to be reflected upwards, and this point that was 2 minus 4, the negative 4 is going to be now positive. So this is the transformation. You have to remember, when you do this, the shape here, it has to be pointed because this is being broken down like that. Next, let's do the transformation of y equals to f absolute value of x. Now absolute value of x means the positive portion of x-axis is going to be reflected on the negative portion. That means anything that was in negative x, because of the absolute value of x, it becomes positive. So this portion will be removed. So let me sketch this first. Label x-axis and y-axis and the origin. Let me sketch this first with the positive portion of the x-axis. So this is the like this. So this is the sketch on the right hand side of the y-axis, or the positive x-axis sketch. Now the negative portion, because of absolute value of x, is removed, and this portion is reflected like this. Remember, there is a little bit of curve, a little bending going on here, so remember that. So if this is the reflection, it would be -2 and -4. The value of y is the same, x is being reflected. So remember, in absolute value of x, it's a reflection on the y-axis. Let's do another example. So here we have this fx. So y equals to absolute value of fx. If you notice this, the entire picture is above the x-axis. That means we don't have to do anything. The absolute value of fx and y equals to fx, they're going to have the same picture because there's nothing, there's no negative y. So the sketch is just copy the sketch. In exams, oftentimes they give a sketch where you have to do nothing, but you have to remember the technique. So you just copy the sketch like this. So this is going to be -3/2, this is going to be 0, 4, and this is going to be 3, 6. You have to do nothing at all. The next, let's do y equals to f absolute value of x. Here, so we take the sketch on the positive side of the x-axis, on the right hand side of the picture. So we take this, so it's this, so this would be 3, 6, and this would be 0, 4. And because of the absolute value of x, this portion becomes completely removed, and this is reflected on the y-axis. So that would be like this. So this would be -3, 6.